Hello and welcome. My name is Joe Valenti and I am your mortgage broker, and it's a privilege to welcome you into your personalized portal. We're going to use this tool together to communicate a number of pieces of information, a number of documents, all things that are needed in order to ultimately create a proposal that'll go to a lender, and we're going to put your best foot forward, get the best terms, the best conditions, and ultimately the best rate, the lowest costs, the best deal for you and for your family. And again, we thank you very much for offering your trust to us. When you first come into the portal, you're going to see this handsome fellow and his contact information. That'd be me. At any time, you can minimize that business card, as we call it, by clicking on that button, and it'll simply get shrunk down. But if you need to, you can click to expose it and see how you can reach me on the phone, by email, even by Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. Or for that matter, schedule a call with me. You can do that through here very easily as well. And of course, listen to this video. So there you go. Welcome to that. Now, for the rest of this video that we've recorded, I'm going to spend maybe 8 or 9 minutes talking to you about this portal. Now, I have to say, you've probably filled in an online form before, whether it's on your phone or on your computer, whether you're at home or at the cottage or whatever. And I will tell you that it's not terribly different than any other electronic form you've used before. Nevertheless, I'm going to go through and spend 8 or 9 minutes talking about some of the tips and tricks that are related to the kind of information that's required here. I would suggest that even if you know what you're doing with forms, you might find it a good investment of your time, not only to learn how to use the form, but also understand a little bit about the way that we and lenders evaluate your application and what pieces of information are important and what is even critical to getting to yes. So I don't discourage you from listening to it, but that having been said, it's just a form, and if you want to just go through it and kind of figure it out, you'll be able to figure it out as well. So if you're still listening, it's because you think there can be some value here, and let me just walk you through then the various components of this portal. First off, we're going to notice that there's an application area, which is gathering textual information, addresses, names, phone numbers, and other things. And there's a documents area. This is the spot where you're going to be invited to upload documents that are going to be required for the transaction to proceed. So for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to talk about the application area, then we're going to come back to the documents. So with respect to this application area, you'll see that it's broken down to a couple of spots, what we refer to as the subway stops, and we're ultimately going to be going from left to right to get to this consent area over on the right. In the property section, we're really talking about the subject property. Now, you might be fortunate and own a number of properties. We're only here, however, on this tab talking about the subject property, the one whose mortgage we are trying to get organized now. If you have other properties and their mortgages, that's fine. We're going to talk about them as other assets a little later. Here is information about the subject property, and here we're looking for whether it's an approval or a pre-approval, whether it's a purchase or a refinance. We're looking for the address. You can use this little Canada Post update address lookup feature if you're interested in that. And other information related to the physical real estate that you're proposing to get financed. If you're doing a purchase, then you want to see a purchase price and a down payment amount. If you're doing a refi, then you'll ideally provide information about its expected value and maybe a date of an appraisal if there is one. And if it's just your guess, that's totally fine too. Just whatever you've got for today is all good. Clearly on a refi, there would be no down payment. Owner occupancy is very important. If you own it and live in it, that's cool. If it's strictly rental, also cool. You might be a mix of both. It could be a duplex, a quadruplex, whatever it is, also fine. It might be a summer home or a second home. That's also good. So just go in and fill in the rest of these fields. Most of them pretty straightforward. Don't need the MLS number. If, of course, there isn't one. If you're doing a refi and you already own your house and it's not on the market, don't need the MLS number, but you'll see this really only for purchases. And so for the rest of the information, just do the best you can to fill it in. And if elements are unknown, then leave them blank and we can come back to them, or give me a call and we'll sort it out. And when you fill in all that information, we're simply going to go off to the next subway stop by merely clicking on next step. And here we go. We're going to come into an area we're going to talk about the first of the two applicants and their information. Now, there's no priority given to the first or second applicant. There's no primary and secondary. It's completely arbitrary. Both applicants are treated at the same level in the eyes of the broker and of the lender eventually. So it makes no difference at all whether you're first or second. For each borrower, we do need some information about the human person, name, address, phone number, date of birth, all that kind of thing. We need residential history, employment history, assets and liabilities, and we're going to walk through each of those steps. So for the for each of the two borders, again, name, phone number, address, date of birth, citizenship, marital status, all that sort of thing. Fill that in. When you're done, just go to the next. And here we're going to talk about residential history. And what we're looking for is a minimum of 3 years of residential history. Where have you lived? Whereas with employment history, it's where have you worked? You're going to come in here and find this row blank. You're going to have to add an item. And after you add it, you'll be able to go back and edit it. And now we're talking about residential history. Where have you worked for at least the last 3 years? Or sorry, where have you lived for the last 3 years? So you're simply going to identify that address. If it happens that you've only been there for 2 years and 3 months, totally fine. We're going to click continue, but you'll then notice that we're missing 9 months of history. We need to add a second item so that we get to a total of 36 months. So I'm going to cancel this out. I'm going to go back and edit this one to make it 5 years and 3 months. Fine. And now you'll see that when that's done, we're good. We're above the 36-month threshold, and there's no kind of warning message. So just get a minimum of 36 months into there. Same thing for employment history. Where have you worked? How long have you been there? And we need a minimum of 3 years of that employment history. Once again, add items as required, edit items as required, and when you're done, move on to the next step. Here for assets and liabilities, pretty straightforward. Any recurring liabilities, credit cards, lines of credit, car loans, anything of that kind, you're going to add an item and identify those. Same thing for assets, RESPs, RRSPs, TFSAs, any other assets you might own, including corporations or partnerships, anything else, list them in there. The one difference is for properties. If you happen to be fortunate enough to own other properties other than the subject property that we're financing now, then by all means add an item, list those, and just provide some basic information about them. It's very straightforward: addresses, possible values, taxes, recurring costs, that sort of thing. So when we finish that, we're going to press the next step, and we're on now to the second applicant, if there is one, and it's all the same stuff. No need to go through it all again. Just going to go through identity, employment history, residential history, assets and liabilities. And after we get to the assets and liabilities and we fill that in, we're going to go to the next step, and that'll be the consent area. Here we're going to get a little bit of a summary on the entire transaction, and everything is good, and you don't see any errors in here, then great, you can press continue. There's a consent area, and you just agree to that, and cool. This is, by the way, completely separate and apart from a mandate letter that we'll be sending you requesting formal permission, legal permission to act on your behalf. It also provides us with a means to go and pull credit information and some other bits of information. So pretty straightforward. Just go from left to right, fill the stuff in, and I think you'll find it pretty straightforward. Now for the document section, happily, same thing, fairly easy. You'll see that it's broken up into a couple of sections. There are some documents that are merely needed to be uploaded. So there's no signatures or back and forth required. They're just things that we need to get from you, like the offer to purchase or T4s or a Medicare card, that sort of thing. So these are things that you're going to upload. Some other things we actually need you to receive, sign, and send back. And if that's the case in here, we're going to put that in this sign and upload area. And that's why you'll see, for example, a mandate letter or an insurance form that would typically belong up here. Further, in this upload to broker area, you'll have a couple of sub areas, and some things are personally identifiable to, for example, Patricia. We need Patricia's, the first applicant's bank statements. We need a note of employment. We need a T4, a passport, a driver's license, a Medicare card. They are specifically for that first applicant, and we invite you to put them in there. There are other things that relate to the subject property. That could be your offer to purchase or your proof of insurance and that sort of thing. But for each applicant, there'll be an area. For the subject property, there's an area, and we ask you to just go through them. And eventually you get down to the bottom here, you see that there are some things that these applicants have already uploaded, but they haven't yet been reviewed by the broker, by me. So after you submit your municipal tax notice, I'll see it there. I get notified. I get to go and take a look at it, make sure that it fits the application and everything's in order, that it's clear. And by the way, you can do this with your camera on the phone. That'll work too. But that's for my signal to go and check it out, make sure it's good. And after I do approve it, it gets down to this complete area. So really the name of the game is to just keep uploading any documents that are required until all of them in the end up in this complete area. So we'll conclude by just showing you what happens when we come and look for a driver's license or something else for one of these two applicants. You're just going to click here or use your fingertip on your phone to do the same thing. If you wanted to send me a little note about your Medicare card or any other information that you think is pertinent to the document you're sending, just go ahead, type it in, click that send button. It's a little miniature chat that goes on between you and us. And by the way, here's a sample of what an ID card might look like. It's in there too. And whenever you're ready, on a computer, you can click browse. On a phone, you'd be able to just literally take a picture with your camera. In this instance, I'm going to come over here into my samples area, and I'm going to look for some identity document. Somewhere in here, I've got a passport sample, for example. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to upload it. You're going to see a little check mark is going to appear here. When you see that check mark, it's in, and you're done. And you can then click done, and off you go. If for whatever reason you need to include a second page, then do the same thing, include a second page, and you're good. Now, after I press done, you'll see this document number 806 is no longer going to be in Patricia's pile of things to do. 806 is going to have graduated down to the bottom, and there it is down here. It's one of the things that is waiting for approval. So you see how easy it is to just take that photo, upload the document, and again, just keep going until all the required documents get submitted. And that's it. It takes more time to explain all this, but it really is pretty straightforward. And if you have any questions at all, of course, we're delighted to help you in any way we can. So thank you very much for your attention. I wish you a great week. And if you have anything comes up, just reach back out to us. We'll be delighted to assist you in any way. Have a good one. Thanks for listening. Take care.